Do you know what it takes to be a writer? The answer may surprise you. When I was starting poetry school, there was a meeting for all the new creative writing students, and in that meeting, one of the faculty gave us a piece of advice that really helped me to see myself as a writer. Now, you might think that being accepted into a creative writing program is a sign that you've made it as a writer. I mean, if you've sent in your writing and people thought it was good enough to let you in, wouldn't that mean that you are, in fact, a writer? Well, I've learned from my own experience and from just about every other graduate student that I've ever talked to that an acceptance letter isn't really a sign that you've made it. Instead, it usually marks the beginning of a years-long exercise in wondering whether you really belong where you are. So those of us who were new to the creative writing program that year were probably spending a lot more time doubting ourselves than congratulating ourselves. And that faculty member knew it, so she spent some time in her welcome spiel telling us what it takes to be a writer, mostly, I think, in an effort to reassure us that we could, in fact, claim to be writers. But she didn't start out by talking about writers. Instead, she asked us what it takes to be a runner. At what point can somebody claim to be a runner? After they've run a mile? After they've run a marathon? What if somebody runs a marathon and then never runs again in their life? Are they a runner then? As she asked us these questions, we all agreed pretty quickly that a person could be considered a runner if they went running regularly. Even if they only ran a little bit each day, it would still be appropriate to call them a runner. So you don't have to finish a marathon to earn the title of runner. You can be called a runner if you do it often. And the same thing is true for writers. You don't become a writer by getting into a creative writing program or by publishing your first book. You become a writer by writing regularly. That's it. If you want to be a writer, all you have to do is write. If we're going to take this timeless advice to heart, though, what do we actually have to do? Well, I think that we can put this advice to work in a couple of important ways. First of all, if you want to be a writer, then do it. Don't feel like you have to accomplish some specific goal or have some arbitrarily large audience. You don't become a writer through some grand achievement. You do it by writing. So just write. And do it regularly, every day if you can, but at least most days. You don't have to write for a long time every day, so just make sure you get some time in. In fact, right when she was telling us that writers are people who write, that professor told us that we should plan on setting aside 15 minutes a day for writing. Can you imagine? We were in a creative writing program, supposedly so that we could spend all of our time writing, and she set the bar at 15 minutes. As she put it, 15 minutes is enough time to write a line of poetry, to double-check a citation, or rework a title. In other words, 15 minutes is enough time to accomplish something, but it's not so much time that it eats up your whole day or feels overwhelming. 15 minutes is doable, and somebody who writes for 15 minutes a day has every right to call themselves a writer. Now, don't miss the importance of actually writing. You wouldn't want to think you're making progress when you actually aren't. For example, I studied linguistics in college, so I know a lot about languages. I know that Finnish has vowel harmony, that Korean is considered a language isolate, that Spanish usually makes this sound when Portuguese makes this sound, and that Hawaiian has a consonant vowel syllable structure. I can't speak or understand any of those languages, though, so I know a lot about languages, but I only actually know a couple. So don't just settle for knowing about writing. Reading books and taking classes and watching videos about writing are all good things to do, but you can't just learn about writing to get better at it. You actually have to do it. Those other sources can guide or inspire you, but don't forget that writers don't just study writing, they actually write. So just get started, and then learn as you go. Whenever people find out that I'm in the business of writing and teaching writing, one of the first things that they usually say is, "Oh, I'm not very good at writing." And I usually take that as a sign that they either don't see themselves as writers or maybe that somebody's told them that they're not writers. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to be a writer, but I am saying that being a writer isn't a difficult or exclusive thing. So if you want to be a writer, don't count yourself out. Just start writing. The best and only way to get better at it is to do it, and as long as you're doing it regularly, you deserve to be called a writer. And of course, this channel is here to help you along the way. So let me know what challenges you face in your writing practice, and I'll do my best to help you through them. In the meantime, though, just get started, and I'll see you next week.